in Oakland. We are back on the air now. As you can see, we're standing out in our parking lot because of the earthquake that struck just about an hour and 40 minutes ago. We want to try to bring an update to you of what has been happening. Very quickly, if you can still see behind me in San Francisco, there are several fires going. There is a layer of smoke that's covering San Francisco right now. We understand that an entire block of Jefferson and Divisadero in the San Francisco Marina has burned. Several buildings have collapsed over there. Very quickly, probably the most devastating blow that we know of so far occurred on the San Francisco Oakland Bay Bridge. The entire section has collapsed, trapping as many as, well, we know at least 3 cars. We don't have any word yet as to casualties from that incident. We do know the Coast Guard is right now searching the water underneath the Bay Bridge in case there may be some survivors that they need to pick up down there.
Several dozen people apparently have already been airlifted from the bridge to Crystal Field. And if you want to get an idea of just how big this earthquake was, it was felt 400 miles away in San Fernando Valley. Buildings swayed there and people felt it. At this hour, San Francisco International Airport is closed down. There has been major damage there. The runways are okay, except inside the control tower. The controllers are saying glass is broken. It just looks like a disaster there. So the San Francisco airport is closed at least until midnight. All planes have been redirected. At 50 Townsend in San Francisco, a brick wall apparently collapsed. We're getting reports that people may be trapped in that area. You are being asked not to use the telephone. PG&E is reporting they don't know when the power will go back on, but patients and they're going to try to get restored.
Okay, now what we're going to do, we have engineers right now working on the building. As I said, we were knocked off the air completely. We're standing outside our building right now, and engineers are working, trying to restore power. We may have to helicopter some crews over to our relay center at Sutro in San Francisco, but we're going to be working on that. In the meanwhile, we're going to try to keep you up to date as best we can with the facilities that we have. We have crews all over the place. They are in position. What we have to do is try to get the information back from them, back to us, so we can relay it to you. The other thing we should relate to you very quickly now is that a section of Highway 880, that's 880 through Oakland, it's 880 through Oakland, a section of the Cypress structure, that's the elevated double deck section, a section of that has collapsed. As many as 20 to 25 cars were trapped under that. Again, we don't have an exact idea of casualty figures yet. That's still coming in. We do know right now that the size of this earthquake has been calibrated. It was too big for Berkeley to calibrate. We understand it was measured either from an Alaska station or from the station in Golden, Colorado. They're telling us that it measures between 6.9 or 7 on the Richter scale, which puts it as the largest earthquake since one, I believe, that took place back in 1952. So it is probably the biggest earthquake that has hit this area in most of our lifetimes.
The epicenter was on the San Andreas Fault. It was 10 miles northeast of Santa Cruz in the Hollister area. We're getting reports of major damage. Several buildings are down. There's some fires reported. We also had a report earlier today that BART, all power was stopped on BART, and trains were stuck in the Transtate 2. People were seen walking out to safety. I'm getting reports from our engineers that our audio that we're having a lot of trouble with our audio. We are working on it. Once again, our power was knocked out for about an hour and a half, and we're doing the best we can to get the sound, get the picture back so that we can bring you all the information. And we will stay on the air continuously now through the evening to keep you updated on what's going on. Again, if you can see behind Dennis and me across the estuary in San Francisco, there's a big fire right now burning at Jefferson and Divisadero in the Marina District, and we're seeing fire and smoke from here. There is smoke. You can smell the smoke in Oakland, and you can see smoke around downtown Oakland as well. At the Embarcadero Center, apparently the earthquake was so violent there that the streets were actually buckling. There is no power at Candlestick. The World Series has been put on hold. It hasn't been determined yet if there's any damage at Candlestick or the Coliseum. They haven't been able to determine that, but there was no power, and the microphones weren't working. You could hear reports of the players in the middle of the field trying to figure out what to do, and pretty soon the field and the stands just emptied out and people went off to safety. Once again, the earthquake for 7 points on the Richter scale, 10 miles northeast of Santa Cruz. A big aftershock around 14, and then one around 5:25, and then 5:40. We have a reporter now who's been working on the story. Do you have some information?
Rob has been monitoring the situation, and you've been in Berkeley?
Yes, Ted, it's in Berkeley. The jolt was, of course, felt as heavily as the rest of the Bay Area. A huge fire broke out at an auto body shop, sending plume of smoke very high up. And I should point out that the city of San Francisco has requested that all off-duty police and all off-duty firefighters please report to duty. Get to the city any way you can. You are needed for the rescue effort. We have unconfirmed reports. There are deaths in this. There are a vast rescue effort going on. We've heard that dozens of people are being pulled from cars that were trapped on the Bay Bridge. Also, if you need to use the phones, use them, but quickly get off. If you don't need to use the phones, stay off. Phone lines are down in some areas. In some cases, they work sporadically. We have some reports of unconfirmed deaths, but those reports are unconfirmed. We also hear there's a huge fire in progress in the Marina District of San Francisco. We don't have too many more details on that. So that is the report as we have it now, Dennis.
Okay, Rob, thank you. Now, we want to mention a couple of advisories. First of all, you've been hearing it all night long. Don't use a telephone if you absolutely don't have to. Don't drive anywhere if you absolutely don't have to. If you're in an area where you've experienced power outages, don't use matches. Turn off all your gas if necessary. If you think you have a leak, don't use matches. Use flashlights if you have them. Don't use matches and candles until you're sure everything is absolutely safe. Now, as Elaine mentioned earlier, all off-duty San Francisco firefighters are requested to report immediately to their workstations, and I would imagine that would be the same for off-duty firefighters in just about any Bay Area location. And also, we've just gotten a request from Highland Hospital in Oakland. All doctors, nurses, technicians are requested to report immediately to the command center at Highland Hospital. Elaine, what else do you have?
This information is just coming in. The California National Guard has now been put on alert. And at the headquarters of emergency services, we're getting this report. That major fire at the Visadero and Beach, it involves a 35-story apartment building. It has been gutted. That fire has now moved on to other structures and collapsed. People have been pulled out who are pinned underneath some cross beams. Some of them have been freed by the jaws of life. We are getting reports that there have been deaths in this earthquake, but none of them have been confirmed. Once again, the California National Guard is now on alert. As far as the Bay Bridge, the section of the Bay Bridge that collapsed onto the lower deck, it was apparently a 30-foot wide portion of the upper deck that fell onto the lower deck. The Coast Guard began looking for people in the water. There was an airlift going on, taking victims to Christie Field. The earthquake apparently was felt as far as Fresno, Sacramento. It was also felt in the San Fernando Valley, and that's 400 miles away. In the newsroom, KTVU and our newsroom people were knocked off their feet by the force of the quake. And then again, around 5:14, we had another aftershock, 5:20, and then around 5:40, there was another aftershock after that. Randy Shandeville has been covering the earthquake. Randy, why don't you come on in here and tell us what you found out?
Where are you? Wait a minute, let me say one thing first. We have just confirmed that there has been some damage to Caltrans equipment. They want us to pass that along. BART has lost all power. They are running inspection trains only at this point. Randy, you've been out and about. Tell us what you saw.
Well, the first thing we saw was we flew over the cypress structure. We're looking at it right now. And it is truly one of the most depressing things I've ever seen. The entire upper deck of the cypress structure collapsed. The cypress structure, by the way, is the section of highway that connects the Bay Bridge to 880, the Nimitz Freeway. And as you can see, looking here, the entire upper deck has collapsed onto the lower deck. We have no idea how many vehicles are below. There you see smoke coming up. Obviously, there was an explosion or a fire of some kind from one of the vehicles underneath. There are many vehicles wrecked on top. It's just impossible to describe. There seems to be people. Hang on, as soon as the camera's steady here, I'll tell you what we're looking at.
basically the type of structure. There was smoke coming underneath the upper deck where there was fires underneath. We have no idea how many vehicles were trapped, but clearly it is frightening to think about what is going on under that section of highway there. Randy, did you get an idea? Did you get a look at the Bay Bridge at all? Can you tell us anything about that? Yes, we did have a look at the Bay Bridge, and I don't know if it's possible to the engineer in the truck, maybe he could fast forward the tape about 2 minutes. The Bay Bridge is not as bad as the Cypress structure, but it is very bad also. There is a section that connects Treasure Island to the East Bay on the eastern part of the Bay Bridge. A portion of the upper deck has fallen onto the lower deck. There does appear to be vehicles trapped there. Not nearly as many as on the Cypress structure. What we're looking at now is you're looking at the skyline of the city, here coming up here to the Bay Bridge, there's also a major fire going on in San Francisco. We'll tell you about that momentarily. But you can see there is no traffic at all on the Bay Bridge. Somehow they've diverted all traffic off. How the highway patrol has done that, I don't really know.
Randy, while we're talking about the Bay Bridge, we're just getting information that the military is out now. Military personnel are patrolling the area of the collapse on the bridge. There it is right there, 30%.
And you just right there, you see it looks good, a rescue helicopter of some kind. That is a section of the Bay Bridge that collapsed onto the lower deck of the Bay Bridge. From our vantage point, we could not tell how many vehicles were trapped. It looked like at least a few were. There you see the rescue helicopter. We were not allowed to get in very close because of the rescue helicopters. The entire lower deck of the bridge was backed up with vehicles. They obviously had nowhere to go. What method did they use to get the people off the bridge at that point? Did you just get out of the car and walk or turn around? It appeared to be that there was an airlift of some kind, but in all honesty, Dennis, from our vantage point, I could not tell. I was not in radio. Okay, thanks. Randy Chandler has, as you can see from those pictures, has been out covering the collapse of Highway 880. Before I leave, if it's possible, again, for the engineer in the truck to fast forward a couple minutes, there are some very devastating, frightening pictures going on in San Francisco right now. Tell us about that while they get there. This is the Marina District of San Francisco, and a large apartment building or condo is totally up in flames. And there in the background, as you can see there are buildings collapsed in the area around. Several buildings were collapsed within that area. I would guess that's 3 or 4 blocks from the Marina Green. The exact street I do not know, but a massive fire. It's an area of Beach Street near Jefferson and Divisadero. That sounds about right. Again, I was not able to tell from there. It just looks incredibly serious. Now, we might mention while you're looking at these pictures that the reports we have so far that this earthquake was struck around 5:04. Had a magnitude that was measured either in Golden, Colorado, or at a seismic application in Alaska, a magnitude of, we're told, 7.0 on the Richter scale, and that it was felt as far away as Southern California and probably to neighboring states. So, the degree of the magnitude of this thing is just awesome. Now, Randy, what else can you tell us about these pictures? Unfortunately, from our vantage point, we could only get the big picture, and the big picture is just incredibly frightening. I'll be honest with you, I'm very shaken right now. It's very disturbing to think about what's going on in where that is happening. These are just the pictures that we know of. We don't know what yet because everything is still so sketchy. We don't know what's going on in other parts of the Bay Area or other parts. The epicenter was near Santa Cruz. We don't yet know what might be possibly happening in Santa Cruz. That is true. What we're looking at right now is pictures of downtown San Francisco, and again, I can only say from our vantage point, none of these sky rises seem to be damaged, but many of these smaller structures, particularly in the Marina Green area, seem to have collapsed, and we do not know how many people were trapped in those places.
We're just getting information right now. This is an unconfirmed report, and I really want to emphasize that, an unconfirmed report of 4 people dead at the Cypress structure. These people were on the ground, and then again an unconfirmed report of multiple deaths at the scene of the break on the Cypress structure. Once again, these are unconfirmed reports, but we are getting them in now. 4 dead at the Cypress structure on the ground, and multiple deaths at the scene of the break at the Cypress structure. That's the latest we have on that. Right now, we're also hearing that Caltrans officials on the Bay Bridge site are appealing now to help from Sacramento because of the size of this disaster. Military personnel are patrolling the area on the collapse on the Bay Bridge. We should mention that the Golden Gate Bridge Golden Gate Bridge is okay, and the Dunbarton Bridge is okay, and I believe the San Mateo Bridge, there's some problems there. And again, once again, San Francisco International Airport is closed down. The Bay Bridge, we're now hearing, will be closed down at least for several days.
Which brings up, Elaine, well, what we were about to see on the tape is all these ferry terminals we could see from the air. They're just jammed with people. They seem to be overwhelmed. There you see a ferry crossing the bay right now. It's hard to tell from how high we were, but it seemed to be overflowing with people. And again, the ferry terminals, there were long lines of people, crowds of people, obviously knowing they cannot get home any other way. And again, aside from looking at the Bay Bridge and being frightened for the people that were on it at the time of the accident, of the quake, it's frightening to think about how the Bay Area is going to get along for the next week or so with these major arteries collapsing.
Absolutely. Even though the prediction is that the Bay Bridge will be closed down for a couple of days, it may be even longer than that, looking at the size of the damage. By the way, the structure of the Bay Bridge, we understand, wasn't damaged. It was the pavement. The pavement from above fell onto the pavement below, not the actual foundation of the Bay Bridge. Once again, if you are just tuning in, we are in the parking lot out in front of KTVU. We were knocked off the air for an hour and a half right after the earthquake at 5:04 this afternoon. We had no power. We just got power on a little while ago. We will stay on the air continuously to bring you updates on what's happening.
I would like to just urge people, I know there's a temptation to want to go out and see some of this stuff firsthand, and we haven't spoken with safety officials yet, but I am absolutely positive they would want everyone to stay away. Please do not go out if you're curious to see what's going on. There's major rescue operations going on, and anyone who's in the way could endanger lives that are being rescued right now. So please, just rely on your televisions to satisfy your curiosity. Do not go out to the scenes of these disasters.
Okay, just an update once more. The Golden Gate Bridge is okay. The San Mateo Bridge has been closed. The Dunbarton Bridge is okay. There are reports of a major fire in the Marina District. You are asked to stay away from that area. You are asked not to use your telephone. PG&E cannot even give an estimate on when power is coming back on. They're asking everybody to please be patient and wait. Dennis, what do you have for us?
Okay, as you can imagine, we're going to be getting a lot of stuff in from people from home videos. Can you come over here a little bit, fellas? With me, I have Duncan Clemenshaw and Pat Grosh from Berkeley. Describe what we're looking at now.
Right now you're seeing, I'm shooting from my car, driving, and the only way I'm being able to drive is through the viewfinder of the camera. This is right down on Shattuck, right near Bancroft. That building that's burning is Husted's Garage. The building in the foreground is the CEB. It's part of the university. They have the streets blocked off at this point. This is fairly early. This is maybe 10 minutes into it. Let's see.
Where were you when you first? Did you happen to have your camera with you?
I was doing maintenance on the cameras. I work for the School of Journalism there, and I'm also a student. And all of a sudden, the building started shaking. We were in Grinnell Hall, and it started shaking. It wasn't really that rough, but then I knew that things were going to happen. Then we heard that there was a big plume of smoke down to the west of us, and so I grabbed the camera and went down there.
What was the reaction that you could tell from other students or people around you in Berkeley?
Apprehension, afraid that there's going to be another aftershock. Everybody vacated the classrooms. The building wasn't vacated, but everybody was in the halls, talking loud, acting worried. This is down on Durant Street. Those are of the fire trucks on Durant.
Was there a major fire there?
Yes, the building is destroyed, and later in the tape you'll see the extent of the damage. It was the only building that got burned. They were able to contain it pretty well.
As far as you can tell, could you hear many sirens in and around the Berkeley area, or did it seem not very many?
A lot of police cars. It was a two-alarm fire, so there was about, I think 6 engines.
And what did you do?
The assistant fire chief told us that there were 2 fires going on, one in the west end of Berkeley and the Husted fire. It wasn't clear to him at the time whether the one in the west end of Berkeley had turned out to be a false alarm whether it was in fact a legitimate fire. But the fire that we saw was two alarms. He said it was one of the most serious fires he'd seen recently. The building was absolutely totaled. Witnesses that we spoke to said it burst into flames almost immediately. I mean, we were within seconds of the beginning of the quake, and the fire was particularly devastating because of the combustible fluids, gasoline, and so forth that were on location of the shop. Apparently there were 10 or 15 cars in the shop as well, also destroyed. We didn't have an estimate at the time from the fire chief, but the building was definitely totaled.
Listen, well, thank you guys for bringing that videotape down. I'm going to bring Elaine back in here just for a moment. One thing I want to remind you of, we've been asked to pass on a couple of messages. Pacific Bell said, do not call them if your phone is not working, number one. Do not call them. They have had to evacuate some of their buildings, so there's no one there to answer the phones. So don't try calling them. And the other thing, if you try to use your phone, if you pick it up and you don't get a dial tone right away, don't hang it up right away. Sometimes it may take 5 seconds. You may have a dial tone and you just don't know it. So before you try, well, if you call Pacific Bell, you already have a dial tone, you know. But if you think your phone is not working, just hold your receiver for a few moments. You may have a dial tone. If not, just keep trying later on. Elaine?
Just a reminder why you see us out here in the dark. We're standing in the parking lot outside of KTVU because we were knocked off the air earlier. We lost our power because of the earthquake. Let me give you the latest information I have. The red and white fleet is now offering free rides from the San Francisco Ferry Building to Jack London Square in Oakland if you need to find a way to get from San Francisco to Oakland. The earthquake caused such damage. Mutual aid response is now being asked from the San Francisco Fire Department for Marin to come out in and help. As for the airport conditions, Hayward Airport is open. 2 runways at Oakland is open. The San Jose Airport is open, but San Francisco International Airport sustained major damage.